Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Forward Together podcast. This is episode number 2, and we're glad to have you tuning in with us today. I'm your host, Robert Meredith. This is my co-host, Mr. Jamie Moles. Jamie, how you doing today?
Man, life is great. Had an amazing weekend. I know we're going to talk about it a little later. Went up to Ferrystone with the youth group. Spent the weekend up there. 4:45 is when we shoot this podcast. So it's very early on Monday morning, but life is great.
That's awesome. Yeah, man, it was a good weekend. I did some teaching over the weekend to some young ministers and did a little Christmas shopping with the wife, and Here we are, ready to start a new week. So today we want to talk about our favorite memories from spiritual retreat. So Jamie mentioned going to Ferrystone this weekend with our youth ministry, and so Jamie, tell us about your favorite memories growing up in the church and on going to a spiritual retreat like you did this weekend.
Yeah, so I was very blessed growing up and went to the Pulaski Church of God that we had a great youth group. We always had a full-time youth minister, and from the time I was 12 or 13, we would travel around and do different kind of retreats and weekends, and I even grew up in a time when we would do choir tours throughout the summer, and we'd be gone for a week or two and just tour around. And this is pre-internet kind of days. The world was small, so it kind of really did two things for me. One, it was a great way to see men and women of God were become great influences in our life, and they were able to help mold us and shape us, and not only from a spiritual sense, but the world was much smaller back then. So what I learned back then, being able to travel and see different places in the country with a lot of these type of retreats and tours, it really, who knew it then? God knew, obviously, but it's kind of set you up for life and business and travel and being able to meet and interact with different kinds of people.
Well, who knew you were a singer? So I didn't know choirs were one of your things that you were gifted at.
So if any of my old friends from Pulaski are watching, I could sing pretty well until I was 16. Our choir back in, if I graduated in 92, so around the 1990 Teen Talent, our ensemble won Virginia State back when that was a big deal. And then if I remember correctly, we competed in San Antonio. So,
all right.
It's
wow.
But around 16, my voice changed, and you get this squeaky mess that is what I am today.
Okay, so you're not a candidate for the worship team currently.
I mean, I'll do it. I'm not sure if we have anybody who would stay.
So for Jamie and I both grew up in the Church of God, and so for us, we had every year what we would call youth camp or summer camp, and then they also had Winterfest, and I know you were able to go to that.
Yep.
And so my earliest experience with both of those actually is connected to his home church. I grew up in a small church in Parrott, and we didn't have a large youth group that did a lot of retreats. But the one summer that I did go to youth camp, I was connected with Jamie's church, and I was put in the cabin with his youth pastor. Of course, he was a little bit older than me, so he was already out, but I had the opportunity to go to camp with them, and then the youth pastor invited me to go to Winterfest. And so my senior year, my first opportunity to go to Winterfest. So these types of retreats are important because I believe it gets us out of our regular routine spiritually. It's kind of like an extended time where you can really focus on your relationship with the Lord in a more in-depth way. And I believe there's a biblical example for this. If you look at the Old Testament, the children of Israel had certain feasts that they had to go to certain times of the year. Every year they had to go and spend an extended number of days camping, going to make the sacrifices, making the travel, the trip to get there, the expense and the effort that was involved in that. But it was a time where they could go and they could just focus on the Lord for an extended period of time. And I think I see the benefit of that for our youth today.
Oh my God, absolutely. So this weekend, it was incredible for two ways, really. It was cool to see the kids interact with each other, and then it was cool to see them worship at night during our services. And the one thing I will tell you, and these kids, we see them on Sundays, and I'm blessed, even though I'm an older guy, they kind of accept me. I know some of them pretty well through sports and parents and stuff like that. but when they get around each other, and I would never divulge in details because it's a circle of safe space, you really never fully understand what a lot of these kids have going on at home. Not everybody comes from a Christian family, or even a two-parent family, or a good home life. And it was heartbreaking to hear some of the stories and what these kids have going on. Yet when you see them in school, you see them, at church on Sunday, they're smiling and laughing. But what they have to live with on a day-to-day basis was surprising and shocking to me. And the way they worshipped, and we were blessed with youth leaders here that would pray with them and work with them and give them guidance. And I don't know how many challenges we're going to offer. And I was thinking about this as I was driving here this morning, but if you're watching this and you have a home church, and if you're watching this and you don't have a home church, then figure out how to make this happen. But I really think we need to adopt the kids in church. And what I mean by that is pick a kid, go to your youth leader, pick a kid, pray for them. You might want to see if there's anything they need. Not everybody has an income anymore where they might be getting all the stuff they need. And I think as a church body, and really just as being a good human, we need to make sure that we're really supporting these kids, because we really have no idea what they have going on at home. It was, for someone who knows all these folks, it was kind of eye-opening to see what they deal with sometimes on a daily basis.
Yeah, the Lord gives us so many opportunities to invest in the lives of the people, the youth that He's brought into our life. And so that you bring up a very good point. I mean, what greater thing could we do to invest in this generation that's now rising up to take over, is to be a prayer partner and to be a mentor for them. And so that's a very, very powerful thing that we're able to do. I was thinking about memories that I have with spiritual retreats and times like this. And like I said, I was only able to go to a couple as a youth, but as a youth pastor, able to just remember some powerful moments, like you said, where you kind of have a time where it's just one-on-one, and you're able to. I remember specifically being at Winterfest and being able to just. You guys were in a cabin this weekend, but Winterfest we had hotel rooms, and so we were sitting out in the hallway of the hotel, just me and a couple of students just talking, and then they were divulging some things that they were struggling with, what was going on in their life, and having those opportunities are just so impactful to you, and it's just things that stay with you as you go on. And I can remember a powerful service at Winterfest I can just remember the power of God being so strong. We were at Thompson Bowling Arena in Tennessee, on the campus of the University of Tennessee for our service, and I can just remember the power of God being so strong in there, and seeing the youth respond to God in a way that, again, getting outside of your normal routine. It's great to be faithful to your local church, and it's good. And what we encourage our youth to worship God in the local church the same way they do when they're away at a retreat. But there's something about getting away and being able to have this time where you're in a new environment. It's like a new focus. It's like a new, it's the same God, but it's just a fresh experience that you're able to have. And you probably saw some of that as well.
Absolutely. I think there is something to really about getting outside the four walls. I think when you're young, especially, I also think there's some safety in your youth leaders who you trust and being away that just really allows you to get a different kind of focus. You don't have to, I think it's just as simple as we're all in one place. You eat together, sleep together, not sleep together, you sleep in the same building there. And it just allows you to really open your heart and not have to worry about anything else. Everything's kind of taken care of them for them. So it allows them to, in the day, we focus hard on playing, which is why I'm tired. But at night, it was focus hard on worship. And it was life-changing for me to hear some of the things that I truly had no idea.
Yeah. And the kids just enjoy that time to, like you said, play hard, and just to be around some adults who care enough to spend the weekend with them and enjoy that. So, Jamie, moving on here, what did you think about the weekend from the sports scene?
So we had no signal, so no internet. That is the biggest blessing and curse of the weekend. There was one small spot I could get signal. I had to talk to my parents a few times about some stuff, but so I caught up yesterday. Probably one of the biggest things was the Tyson Paul fight. If you're a certain age, as those behind this table, Mike Tyson was probably one of the biggest athletic stars growing up for us. And from what I can gather and what I watched in replay, the only people who won this past Saturday was Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, because I think between them they took about $60 to $80 million home. Not much else to say. It was kind of a travesty. I read this morning that they actually may have had, not that this is a big deal for Tyson because he's like 700, but for Jake Paul, I think they pulled his license because they're investigating potentially whether like this was like a real fight, because I believe there was gambling, and if you have gambling, I think there's actually a certain standard you have to meet for competition. So I'm sure nothing will come of it because it's about money in the sports world right now. But yeah, not much to say about that except the only people who won were really Netflix, Jake Paul, and Mike Tyson.
It seemed to be something nostalgic, I guess, about the fact that Tyson was going in the ring Friday night and so many people were tuning in just to watch. I watched some of it was late. So like I wasn't staying up past, like I said, I had to get up and teach Saturday morning. I wasn't staying up past midnight to watch that fight. It was late because I kept flipping over, and it was these other matches prior to him stepping in the ring, and I was like, I'm going to bed. There's no way I'm going to be up for this.
So a great Mike Tyson story, and then we'll move on to football. But really started my career working for Dish Network. So now everything's streaming. Let's go back 25-ish years or so. So you used to have to get your pay-per-views on, like the box, right? You order them.
Yeah.
And back then, it wasn't just a Netflix thing. Like pay-per-views were 60, 70, 80 bucks. 80 bucks 25 years ago, I mean, you'd be paying like $300 for a fight now.
Yeah.
So if you remember, Tyson bit off Holyfield's ear, right? And so they called the fight like 45 seconds into it. Or at least I don't think it got out of the first round. So I'm working for Dish Network. It's all hands on deck because it's so busy. We actually almost crashed our system because everybody wanted their money back.
Wow.
And you don't get your money back. Like it's pay-per-view. Like, I'm sorry Mike Tyson bit off somebody's ear, but you're out $80. Call Mike Tyson. And honestly, like it was a virtual biting of the ear.
Wow.
Friday. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Wow.
They lasted 8 rounds, but it's just junk.
Yeah.
So, at least it was on Netflix. Probably already got it.
College football Saturday. LSU went down to Florida. Didn't see that one coming. My wife was not a happy camper. Georgia avenged their loss to Ole Miss the weekend before with a big win over Tennessee. So we've got several SEC teams now with 2 losses. Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, A&M.
Yep.
I think Texas may have 1 loss still. But it's going to be interesting how they select who gets into the playoffs. And of course, they still got to play out the next 2-3 weeks to see who wins the SEC and all that. But it's going to be interesting.
So they're going to turn it into the SEC Invitational. I'm not sure why they didn't name that just off the jump. I did see some Brian Kelly highlights, and I'll be honest, man, that dude needs to go.
I've never been a fan.
I don't think that style of coaching should never be berating kids, especially on the sidelines. And I know that kids is probably an overused term for college athletes, and they make money now. If he wasn't a coach, we would just call him a jerk. So I don't really understand all that. And I will tell you, LSU, if you're watching this, probably not, but if you are, that style of coaching in today's world with today's athletes, never going to work. I mean, I saw that like Michigan wants to pay some kid. They're doing like contracts now, like NIL, like 4 years, $10 million, come be the quarterback of Michigan. I'm not sure where college football is going. I think kids actually should make money, but it's the wild, wild west. So we're going to end up with the SEC Invitational for the playoffs. Not necessarily an Oregon fan, but hey, let's have something different. And Brian Kelly needs to go.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what happens when it's all done. How are your Warriors doing?
Well, Warriors are great. I think probably the biggest thing in basketball is Cleveland went 15-0, and there's only been a few teams that have done that, and none of them have been the out of the blue Cleveland Cavaliers. None of their games are on TV that I've seen, so I don't really know how they're doing it. They actually thumped my Warriors, and the Warriors are playing great, so there does seem to be something real to it. They're by far the biggest story in the NBA, probably followed by the Warriors, who are doing well. A lot of season left. But kind of like with football, a lot of the big name superstars aren't being able to carry their teams, and you have some surprises going on.
I got to ask you this question because I've always wondered, were you a Warriors fan back in the 90s?
No, so I was always a Laker fan, grew up a Laker fan, and you have to remember, you couldn't used to watch all the teams, so the Lakers and the Celtics were kind of like what was on TV. My best friend liked the Celtics, so I picked the Lakers, and then around the Kobe-Shaq breakup, I liked Shaq better at that time, so then I watched Miami, loved Dwayne Wade, and at this point, and I actually kind of feel this way with all sports anymore, they all make so much money. I really don't care. I like to see good games. I mean, I always have a special place in my heart for like my Cowboys, but I just like to see good sports, and we don't get that much anymore. They're all a bunch of overpaid crybabies.
Maybe tonight you'll have a good game. Your Cowboys, we got Texans tonight.
No, it won't be. And
Won't be a good game. Okay.
They're good.
Leave us a comment if you think Dallas has a chance tonight against the Texans. All right, we're going to wrap up with this. We've got 90 days until Daytona. There's some good news on Monday morning. 90 days until the Daytona 500. It's only 3 months.
The excitement.
3 months away. Hey, I want to share a word of the week with you today from 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4. The Bible says, "Blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God." So just to encourage you this week that God is there to give us comfort in tough times. The Bible talks about the Holy Spirit being our comforter, who is a very present help in trouble. And I like how Paul uses the word here to describe God as the Father of mercies and the God of all comfort, because when we find ourselves in a situation of affliction and turmoil or a sickness, pain, something going on that's really causing us a lot of grief and heartache, we can turn to the Lord and He gives us comfort. He gives us comfort and help during our difficult times. So just don't forget to turn to the God of all comfort this week when you find yourself in a difficult place.
Awesome. That's great.
All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in to our Forward Together podcast. We look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you. Have a great weekend.
Hey, let's all move forward together. See you next week.
See you.